Let's talk to Mark Almond, Director of the Oxford Crisis Research Institute, looking on there. Hi, sir. Nice to see you. What are the obstacles left for the UN to send aid to Aleppo, then, as you see it?
Well, obviously there's still an area controlled by the rebels where there is fighting, and the rebels have not always been terribly concerned about discriminating between their enemies and aid workers. But it is quite bizarre that now, as you actually have tens of thousands of people who are finally accessible, that the UN's agencies are not actually rushing to help, because after all these are people who are in need. The weather is very bad in addition to all the suffering caused by the violence. But I think we have to, I'm afraid, accept the fact that the UN is not composed of people from outside the normal world of politics. After all, the head of its aid agencies is a former British Conservative MP. Jan Egeland, who you've just shown, is a Norwegian political activist who's been, for a long time, very critical of Russia. So we're talking of people who do have a political past, even if they're now presented as being somehow or other representatives of global charity, of global concern. But I'm afraid they're politicians.
As you see it, as we head into New Year, where's this going to go into 2017? Do you think the standoff in Aleppo is going to continue for much longer, despite these major gains by the Syrian army? The rebels are reportedly refusing to surrender, though.
Well, I think the remaining rebel forces are in a very difficult position. So unless something changes through some external intervention, which would widen the war and be a very dangerous development, and I don't see the United States either doing it itself or, for that matter, encouraging any of its friends to do that, like Turkey or Saudi Arabia, neither of which I think really has the stomach for such a fight. So the likelihood is that the horrible conflict in Aleppo itself is grinding towards a conclusion. And that may also mean that in 2017 we can look towards trying to repair the international situation around Syria. The new President of the United States has said that he's much more prepared to operate realpolitik rather than an ideologically driven agenda to produce regime change and, if necessary, say, well, if we can't have regime change, at least we can have chaos, and perhaps out of that chaos something good will come. I think we've seen, really over the last 25 years, from the chaos that we helped to produce in Afghanistan through to Syria today, that the chaos theory that the neocons in Washington have promoted has actually bitten back. We've seen terrorist attacks in Western Europe, we've seen them in the United States. I think Trump recognises that even though he's going to be a very assertive defender of American interests, he's not going to be an assertive meddler.
Mark, we've got to leave it there
on.
We've got to leave it on that thought. Sorry, it's a brief. Mark Almond, Director of the Oxford Crisis Research Institute. Yeah. Thank you.